welcome back. It's good to see you again. You're always welcome here, as you know. And if you're new here, you're very welcome too, of course. It's lovely to see you. My name is Paul, and I like to talk about Jesus the man before Christianity. Jesus the man who understood the frailties of us humans and how difficult it is to live a good Jesus-type life. And that's why I'm here to talk to you, to help you and show you the way that I think you can achieve your soul's purpose in Jesus' teachings. Now, on the comments, I often get asked in modern terminology, what does unconditional love look like? And actually, it's a very good question, isn't it? It's not something I really thought about, because I keep going on about love and everything. And forgiveness, what does forgiveness look like? I mean, my last video I spoke about how Jesus and Peter were discussing forgiveness. And we have to remember, Jesus was talking in the spiritual realm, whereas Peter was speaking in the mortal realm. And there's a huge difference there, there's a big gap. Now, I thought I'd talk to you today about forgiveness and unconditional love in the human realm, so that ourselves, we can try and achieve that. And it comes from a personal story. I was reminded of it the other week when I was talking to a friend about unconditional love and what is the best way to describe it. And he reminded me of a story, a family story of my own family. And it does seem to put it all into context. So I'll tell you the story. If you like a good story, sit down, get yourself a cup of tea or get yourself a drink, and I'll relay the story to you. It was many years ago now. I had a cousin, for argument's sake, let's call her June, and she was in her early 20s, and she got addicted to drugs, sadly. But it went very quickly, as they say these days, it escalated very fast. She went from taking recreational drugs with friends at a party to getting into hard drugs, and within a year she was sleeping in shop doorways, begging for money to have more drugs. And all she thought about, 100% of the time, was where her next fix of drug was coming from. Completely gone. She had such an addictive personality. It was quite frightening. Anyway, obviously, people in the family tried to help her. Of course, what people were doing was giving her some money to go and get some food, giving her some money to pay some rent so she could be in a hostel and safe in a hostel. And we know, obviously, every penny they gave her encouraged her to buy more drugs, which of course doesn't resolve any situation, which is a question I've been asked in the comments about, you're just helping them to carry on with their addiction if you just give them money to help them, which of course is not the way to do it. So all the family eventually, after maybe 3 years, gave up with her and basically was saying to her, well, it's your life. If you choose to want to kill yourself, then that's your business. And were effectively washing their hands of her. My mother came onto the scene. My mother wanted to know how June was doing, and the family said no idea, don't hear from her anymore, she's gone down into a spiral. And my mum, being my mum, because this was one of her nieces, found out roughly what town they thought she might be in, jumped in her car, drove off to the town and went round all the shop doorways and all the places where the homeless people were hanging out and found her. And they had a cuddle. She took her home and managed to get her into a rehab unit. My mum fought very hard to get her into there. There weren't a lot of places. Anyway, she delivered to the rehab unit a couple of days later, and June had promised to do her best to kick the habit. And of course, as we know, 3 days later, she'd absconded. I can't keep her there. It's not a prison. It's her choice to be there or not. And sadly, she absconded. So Mum went and found her again. This time, Mum put her phone number. There was no mobile phones in those days. There was only landlines. My mum put her phone number in June's bag so that she knew that if anybody got June, then... Anyway, she got us sorted out, got us back to a rehab centre. Did the same thing again, absconded yet again. But this time, Mum knew that she had her phone number in her bag. And sure enough, a week later, Mum got a phone call from the police in the city 150 miles away. Mum jumped in her car, went off, got her, brought her back, got her into rehab again. This time she lasted in rehab for 2 weeks before she absconded and ran away. Then it was Mum didn't hear anything and Mum was worrying. And then nearly 6 weeks later, Mum got a phone call from a hospital hundreds of miles away. They had her. The police didn't want to know about her. She'd been freezing in a shop doorway. So she was in hospital for a couple of days. Mum then went and collected her when she was ready to come home. She brought her back. She got her back into rehab. This time, I guess, as Mum was driving out the front gate, my cousin June was walking out the back gate. It had got to that point. But again, Mum got another phone call a few weeks later, this time from a police station quite nearby. Mum went and got her back into rehab yet again. June promised this time she'd do it. This time she would definitely kick the habit she wanted to live. She didn't want to go on like this. And we all knew, well, particularly Mum knew, that was probably just words, sadly. And sure enough, within a few days, June had gone. And then the phone call Mum had been dreading. Mum got the phone call to say that June's body had been found in a shop doorway. And when they had the post-mortem, it turned out that she died of a drugs overdose. Well, basically some drugs that had been cut badly so that she didn't know how much she was taking. And that was the end of that. Poor girl died, and that was her life, and that was her soul's life. However, point I'm making is my mum. When I spoke to my mum about this afterwards, and I said to her about everything that she'd done, she just turned around and said, well, that's what you do, isn't it? I mean, this is a classic example, I believe, of unconditional love. This is what you do. However, other people will argue that my mum's sense of duty, she was only doing it for a sense of duty, but I argue with that. My mum did it with unconditional love. She did it because she loved and she didn't expect anything in return. And she forgave her. Every single time June ran away from the hostel or walked away from the hostel and went off to carry on taking the drugs and begging and what have you, Mum forgave her, brought her back. My mum never washed her hands of her, right up until the last, as I've so explained to you. I think that's unconditional love. I don't know about you, but I think that's unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness. And for goodness sake, if that's not what Jesus is teaching us, then what are his teachings of love, empathy and compassion? I mean, that is what he's teaching. We've all got to try and be like that, I believe. Surely that's the whole point, is that we live our lives and we forgive and we love unconditionally. The whole point of unconditional love, that's what it means, is you don't expect anything in return. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my video. Please do subscribe, please do like, and most importantly, please do share. It's time now for my videos to get out, because I think there's a lot of people out there searching for ways that they can better their soul journeys, better understand how they can raise their vibrations of love and compassion and caring. And I think Jesus' teachings from 2,000 years ago can do that. If we put aside all the religious paraphernalia and just look at Jesus' teachings of love, compassion and empathy, loving our neighbour, loving our enemy. I mean, the prodigal son is a classic example. Another example is the Good Samaritan. All these are stories that show compassion and love. Do like, do subscribe, comment. I'd like to hear your comments. Do you have stories of unconditional love that you know some people went through? Do you know stories where unconditional love might have saved someone, but it didn't in the end because there was no unconditional love? Perhaps you've experienced some trauma yourself and you've come out the other side. Maybe that's due to love, compassion and understanding. But as I say, thank you for visiting. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. I have no idea what that one's going to be about, but it's been welcome. You are very welcome here. And thank you for coming, and goodbye.